one of the coolest thing I think artists can achieve is when they can draw a picture and they don't even sign their name to it. You just know who did it. And for writers, before you finish reading that first chapter or the first page of the book, you can already tell who wrote it, that individual style and voice that they have. And, you know, as an aspiring writer myself and working on things, I think it's one of those things you really kind of try to achieve. So that's what this episode of Comic Book Storytellers is about. Talking to 3 of my favorite artists, who I kind of have to mention are really kind of nice guys too, which is even cooler to find out. Once you find out they're extremely talented, you also find out they're very nice. So, I hope you like this episode.
I think style comes from being a fan of as many people as you are, you know. I have my personal favorites like Art Adams, Joe Matt, Jeff Campbell, Carlos Meglia, you know, Stuart Immonen now, Eric Cagneri, you know, a lot of people. I think style comes from it's a mixture between influence and your own voice. And your own voice as a kid, as when you're a baby, it starts growing on you. You know, it's not that you. It's like kids. They don't born and they start talking. It's, you know, it grows into them, and that's how I feel about style. You know, it grows into you, and suddenly you realize that your work is different from the rest of the people. And to me, that's style. You know. I never looked for it, and then I suddenly, people actually told me, this is Humberto Ramos' style, you know. So
I appreciate that. That's actually a compliment I get fairly often, and it's one of my favorite compliments because I think it's one of those like X factor things. I don't even know if it can be taught, because I think it's like either you have an inner voice or an inner self that comes out in your work, or you don't. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know how you teach somebody to have a unique recognizability like that, except for just tell them to be themselves. The best I can kind of say is I think that came out from basically having a number of influences that were very specific. And the more influences you have, the less you're going to look like one particular influence. Like if you've got, like for me, I was influenced by Disney. I was influenced by the Mad Magazine caricature art of Mort Trucker. Especially the more eclectic your influences are, it's impossible to look like any one source, because all of a sudden these very different pieces all come together and they form this stew or this mix that's uniquely you. And I think that's when people are reacting, saying like, "Oh, I can't mistake that. That's his work." It's one of those things where I think what they're basically seeing is the culmination of all these radical influences that can't help but create a unique style.
Usually at these conventions, you can go to Artist Alley and just walk the aisle, and everybody looks alike except for 2 or 3 people. Those 2 or 3 are the ones that Marvel would hire. So first off, you kind of get to a level where you can really do, and you can do this, and that's where everybody kind of looks the same. You need to draw past that level and find your version of it. It's kind of like playing lead guitar. You start off by learning what everybody else has already done, and then you've got to put your twist on it. We don't need another Jimmy Page. People laugh at a Jimmy Page clone trying out guitars in a guitar store, right? Nobody laughs at Jimmy, but they laugh at his clones. You've got to be distinctive. When we hear you, we can tell who's playing. When we see your art, we can tell who did that, you know? If you'll notice, all the artists at the top all look different. All their art looks completely different. It's like a John Woo film looks different than a Steven Spielberg film. And anybody who works like John Woo doesn't get work. We don't need more than one Tarantino. So the only way to get there is to draw your way there in comics. You have to draw your way past your professionalism and into your own world, where you have your own way of doing clouds, your own way of drawing girls and guys and muscles and cars. And we're all looking for the next new thing that's wonderful to look at. And great stories. They're fascinating to read.
Well, that's another episode. Thanks for watching. I hope you like it. One of the things that I try, even in my own writing, with The Field on the Edge of the Woods and Star and Stripes, is to try to make that individual voice with some of the layouts that I do. But I've also kind of found the more you kind of force trying to create your own style, it seems like the further away you get from it. So it's one of those things that kind of, as long as you keep drawing and writing, once you quit looking for it, that seems to be kind of when you find it. So again, I hope you like this episode. There's 3 different ways to find us on Facebook. Please check it out. I want to thank my day job for the resources to do this, and also Cloud9 Comics, kind of an international independent comic boutique. So there's a lot of fresh new talent for you guys to check out on there, and almost all the first issues are free download. So if you get a chance, please check them out. See you next episode.